Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Gary Smith, and welcome to the Storm Count. And today is day 2 of the Corset 2019 spoiler season. Now, before we get into any of the spoilers, I just want to have a quick note at the beginning of this video. I won't be looking today at any of the commons or uncommon spoilers from the last 24 hours. There are a lot of those cards, but there's also a lot of mythics and rares, and if I looked at the commons and uncommons, this video would just take forever. Even if I split into 2 videos, it's just not something I have time at the moment to kind of edit together and record. So we'll be looking at those hopefully at the weekend. But anyway, we'll be starting off today with Ajani's Last Stand. 2 white for a rare enchantment. Whenever a creature or planeswalker you control dies, you may sacrifice Ajani's Last Stand. If you do, create a 4/4 white avatar creature token with flying, and whenever a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, if you control a planes, create a 4/4 white avatar creature token with flying. Now, this card is actually very interesting because it seems like it'd be a very powerful limited card. You play it on 4, if they kill one of your creatures or planeswalkers, you get a 4/4 white flying creature token. But it's actually the second ability that makes it really interesting. The fact that it's some sort of hedge against discard, which is the kind of card they've only ever really included when there have been powerful discard effects. So back when Liliana the Veil was still in Standard from Innistrad, you had Flashback to kind of counter against it, Lingering Souls, which was designed to punish it. But then they also put cards in Ravnica to kind of fight against Liliana the Veil. So you had the that elephant creature, I can't remember, the Loxodon. Loxodon Smiter, maybe? That whenever it was discarded, you put it into play. So if they went Liliana tick up, you basically got a 3 Loxodon Smiter. And I have even seen it get to a game where someone turn 1 Thoughtseize and hit a guy's hand, and the only card he could choose was like one of 2 or 3 copies of Loxodon Smiter, which was also very interesting. So yeah, this kind of ability does kind of scream that they're planning on having some very powerful discard effect. And note, at this point, we haven't yet seen the set to Liliana, so maybe Liliana the Veil will get a reprint, and we'll have some very ridiculously powerful black card to kind of fight against the aggro matchups. Because double black is a lot harder for the red-black deck to hit, and it's not the kind of card that you really want to back up with, well, I mean, with Heart of Kirin, sure, but yeah, I don't know. This card seems very interesting. I have no idea if it will actually see standard play, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we have Alpine Moon, a 1-mana red enchantment at rare that reads, as Alpine Moon enters the battlefield, choose a non-basic land card name. Lands your opponent's control with chosen name lose all land types, abilities, and they gain add 1 mana of any colour when they tap. This is ridiculous. Joining a long line of moon or sun, I guess, with the Blood Sun cards that are designed to hate on lands. This is what, the 3rd set in a row now we've had some sort of land hate, because we obviously had Blood Sun in Rivals, we had Dampening Sphere in Dominaria, and now we have Alpine Moon. Don't get me wrong, maybe they're just trying to fight Tron in Modern and give other decks ways to fight Tron in Modern, but with the way they seed these kind of cards for future sets, anyone else think that they've got a lot of land coming that they're really scared of? I mean, sure, we've got the flip lands. Maybe this is a way to shut down the flip lands, but those aren't really being problematic. So, Tron lands, or maybe we're going to get some crazy man lands in the future? I have no idea, but this card is fantastic, especially in Modern. Being able to shut down a Tron deck or slow down a Tron deck for 1 mana is much better than 3 mana, especially for a mana hungry deck like Grixis or Mardu. Mardu Pyromancer, a deck I played over the weekend on a Magic Online PTQ. Very fun deck to play, very good deck to play, but just folds to Tron, because the only way you can actually slow the Tron deck down is with Blood Moon, and you can't really take off turn 3 to just play a Blood Moon. You need to be hitting them with a young Pyromancer and spells at that point. Alpine Moon is definitely a great way to do it. And what's interestingly as well is in the sideboards of Modern, this is still a very powerful card against non-Tron decks. Against Affinity, you can shut down any of their man lands, and multiples are actually good as well. But yeah, no, the best thing is it's just a way to hate on mana that 3-color decks can play, because it doesn't actually affect any of your lands either. Sure, you won't be using it to shut down mana. It's not quite the same as Blood Moon. It's not trying to stop people being greedy with their mana bases. It's trying to stop people cheating with their mana bases. Shuts down soul lands. It just shuts down a ton of things, which is a very good card. Next up, we have Metamorphic Alteration. 1 in the blue for a rare enchantment aura. Enchant creature, and as it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature. Enchanted creature is a copy of the chosen creature. I have a feeling this is probably just going to be limited fodder. A very good limited bomb, obviously. You play it on one of your creatures to turn your creature into the best creature on the board, maybe another copy of it, or to copy one of their creatures, or use it on one of their creatures to make their creature weak. As you say, you choose a creature and it enters the battle as a copy. The enchanted creature becomes a copy of the chosen creature. What's really interesting is if you play this in standard with a card like, I don't know, Walking Ballista, you'll be turning their creature into a 0/0, making this a 2-mana removal spell that basically kills any creature in standard. Oh, and they'll lose all abilities in the process, so yeah, pretty good card. I wouldn't be surprised if this saw play alongside 4 of Walking Ballista decks. Hey, maybe there might be a blue-red enchantment deck after all, that artifact deck, sorry, that uses Walking Ballista as one of its enable artifacts and uses cards like this to help turn that into a bigger removal spell against cards like Hazoret or Scarab God. I don't know, but this is still a very interesting card, and I love the design space opened by this. Next up, we have Hungry Hydra. X and a green for a rare Hydra creature. It's a 0/0 and it enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters. It can't be blocked by more than one creature, so you're going to be only throwing one chump blocker in this away at this at a time. And whenever it's dealt damage, you put that many 1/1 counters on it. Now, obviously, first up, I'll have a discussion. That's a trigger. So if it takes lethal damage from the combat damage, it won't survive due to the counters. What will actually happen is, well, it will die. But still, this is a very powerful limited bomb. Being able to only be blocked by one creature makes this a very aggressive creature, and unless you attack into an unfavourable board state, this will kill a lot of things. At the very least, it will trade with a combat trick, but if it doesn't, it's most likely just going to keep growing and growing and growing until they have no chump blockers left. This is a very powerful limited card, and if you end up in green, this might even be a first pick if you want to get into green in this format. Then we'll have to wait and see how green pans out. In standard, if we have any use for the mana sink of an X green spell, it could see play, especially against decks like red that might struggle to deal with it, because whenever it takes damage, well, it's going to be awesome. Next up, we have Sarkhan's Broken Seal. 3 in a red for an enchantment at rare that says, whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, you may target a creature, planeswalker, or player, so choose any target, and Sarkhan's Broken Seals deal 4 damage to chosen target. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 7 or greater, it deals 4 damage to all creatures and planeswalkers each opponent controls. So this is a very powerful creature, powerful enchantment. Though it is 4 mana, so it might be too expensive for standard, but in limited, oh boy. If you built a deck with even just a few 4, 5, or 6 powered creatures, you're going to be killing their creatures, you're going to be killing their planeswalkers, you might just be killing them. But when you combine this with a 7 mana creature, sure, the 7 power creature won't be actually, killing them, but it will kill all their creatures and planeswalkers. Yeah, it's very powerful. The fact that it's one-sided as well makes this, it could be a fairly big limited bomb, though again we have to wait and see how the limited format shapes up, but this will go right in a red-green deck. It just seems fantastic. Next up, we have a Mistcaller, a single blue mana for a Merfolk Wizard. It's a 1/1, and you sacrifice it to give. It has the ability sacrifice it, and until end of turn, if a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile instead. Whoa, a blue hate piece. This is fantastic. Maybe not for standard, and maybe not even for limited, because we've yet to see any real ways to cheat non-token creatures into play. Though it does seem kind of like hate for if they ever somehow print something like, I don't know, show and tell in standard, but that's unlikely given how unfair that card would be. That said, this is probably going to be great in Modern. It's got 2 relevant creature types, Merfolk and Wizard, and Merfolk, I guess, has wanted some powerful 1-drops. Sure, it's running like the 1 mana 2/2s, but something like this that helps it against any deck that tries to cheat things into play could see play, though it could be more of a legacy kind of card for against show and tell and sneak and show and whatnot. Still, very interesting card, and for standard, the wizard creature type, who knows, maybe this will actually see play at some point, no matter how unlikely it is, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we have the granddaddy of all blue mythics, or probably one of the most splashiest blue mythics we've seen in a long time, Omniscience, the epic reprint. 7 and triple blue for a mythic rare enchantment. You may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana costs. This is a fantastic card, and if you've ever resolved it and had it stick around in, I don't know, Commander, sure, you're never casting your Commander for free, but being able to play your entire hand for free is pretty amazing. Given how there's been a rare, red kind of one of these cards spoiled earlier in the format, maybe you'll be meant to be pairing them together. I do know I love the idea of building like a weird red-blue ramp deck that combines this, Nicol Bolas's may cast stuff from the top of your library for free, and that 7 mana, draw 7 cards from Ixalan. Definitely seems like a very interesting and maybe, well, most likely terrible deck, but still a very interesting one if you can somehow ramp into it. Maybe it'll just be a one-off sideboard card that you can maybe tutor for with the blue-black, what is it, the blue-black or the Mirari Conjecture deck. That seems like the kind of deck that wouldn't mind having this in a one-off in its sideboard. That said, love having this as a reprint. It's been getting a bit pricey for Commander players, so it'd be quite good to get hold of. Chromium the Mutable is our next spoiler. 4 white, blue, black, so the Esper part of the dragon cycle, Elder Dragons. It is a mythic rare legendary creature Elder Dragon. It's a 7/7 and it has a whole text box full of abilities. It has flash, it cannot be countered, it obviously has flying, and it also has the ability to discard a card and until end of turn it becomes a human with base power and toughness 1/1, loses all ability, gains hexproof and can't be blocked this turn. Basically this is when I attack, if you try and kill it, I'm going to survive. Sure, this isn't actually as powerful as some people might think though. I mean, it does lose to Settle the Wreckage, and it also can lose to other cards during your opponent's turn like any board wipe, but it's still very powerful, big, flashy beater. I'm not sure you'll see much play before rotation, but after rotation, it could be a lot better. That said, the ability to place end of turn and then just have counter spells up for when they try and settle it, yeah, maybe this will just be an incredibly powerful finisher for Esper control. Hopefully though we do get a better mana, because the mana right now is a bit bad for Esper decks. It just sometimes feels like you're just falling behind, especially in a metagame of black-red or just mono-red aggro. But yeah, it's a fantastic card in Constructed, and in Limited this is obviously a powerhouse bomb. It's the biggest power and toughness out of any of the Elder Dragons we've seen so far in this set, and the ability to make it even harder to kill than any of the other dragons probably makes this a slam dunk bomb first pick, though triple colours, maybe not, I don't know, it all depends on how easy it is to support the mana in Limited. Next up we have Bone Dragon, 3 black for a 5/4 skeleton dragon at Mythic Rare. It has flying, and for 3 black and exile 7 other cards from your graveyard, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Now when I first read this earlier, I thought it said exile 7 other creature cards, since that seems to be the kind of way this type of card works, but it's 7 other cards. This actually becomes fairly good in Limited. Yes, you're only going to be able to return it twice, maybe 3 times if you're lucky, but that's still an incredibly powerful amount of times you have to return a 5/4 flyer to the battlefield. This is a slam dunk bomb in any black deck, and when you combine it with the Sack Outlet deck, yeah, no, this is just a very, very good card. Maybe you won't see Constructed play 5 mana for 5/4 that doesn't do anything else, might be a bit strange, and having to pay 7 other cards in Constructed isn't always an easy task. Yes, I know it's not easy in Limited either, but in Limited at least, the power of this card compared to the other cards in the format is significant enough to make it worth returning. In Standard, it might just eat another removal spell. Sure, that's a 2-for-1, but one that uses so many of your resources that you might want to be using for other things. Still, very good card. Next up we have Isareth the Awakener, 1 black for a 3/3 human wizard legendary creature at rare. It has Death Touch, and whenever it attacks you may pay X. When you do, return target creature with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield, with a corpse counter on it. If that creature would leave the battlefield, exile instead of putting it anywhere else. Okay, Limited bomb that is quite likely going to make it there in Constructed. A 3/3 for 3 with Death Touch is no laughing matter. These kind of cards see tons of play in Standard occasionally. But the fact that whenever you attack, you can reanimate any creature in your graveyard just by paying its mana cost, well, converted mana cost, you don't actually have to pay its coloured mana cost. Yeah, we might see this seeing a ton of play in Standard. I mean, definitely a Limited bomb. You're going to first pick it if you can all the time in the pack. But still in Standard, the fact that the creatures don't leave when this leaves as well is beyond insane. Powerhouse, even if they do get exiled when they eventually leave. I don't know, I just love this card. What I love as well is you can still flicker those creatures. They don't disappear when you flicker them. So, yeah, great card. Next up we have Open the Graves. 3 black for an enchantment with whenever a non-token creature and you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Okay, this is rare, but it's beyond powerful. In Limited, this is going to be creating a ton of 2/2 creatures all the time. In Standard, however, that's where it gets really interesting, because it seems to be there's a ton of zombie support in this format. Remember, we've still got the Liliana's Mastery, or the 5-mana enchantment from Amonkhet that gives all zombies +1/+1 and makes 2/2 zombies. We've obviously got the new Zombie Lord, the reprint that gives all zombies +1/+1 and Death Touch, I think it is, for 3 mana. And obviously you've still got the reprint of the 1 mana black zombie that you can, when it enters the battlefield, tapped. Yes. So sorry, skeleton you control and other zombies you control get +1/+1 Death Touch from Death Baron. And obviously you've got the 1 mana black zombie as well. I'm trying to find it. Diagraphical, which enters the battlefield tap, but 1 mana for a 2/2 zombie. Yeah, definitely looks at zombies on the menu. And obviously we've still got all the other zombies in the format that we might have to find and build, but I have a feeling there's going to be a fairly powerful tier 1, if not tier 1, definitely very high tier 2 power level zombie deck. A very exciting deck to build. In fact, I might just have to try and build it. But when you combine that with Open the Graves, board wipes no longer work against you. That's insane. Cherico Contirico, or Contrite Cleric, is 1 and a white for a rare 2/1 flying Cleric Spirit, and it has the ability to sacrifice it and exile all cards from target player's graveyard. This is fantastic. Many people thought this was actually a Selfless Spirit card, a reprint when they first looked at it, because it had flying and sacrifice. Sure, different art, but yeah, no. This card is going to be fantastic in this format, and if you're in a white deck, you're going to love having access to this in your sideboard. A 2 mana 2/1 flyer that you can play early game is pretty good, and then the ability to exile your opponent's graveyard, not your own, meaning graveyard strategies themselves can use this, is pretty good. Combine this with a certain flying cleric creature that whenever you cast a historic spell, you get to return a 2 mana cost creature to the battlefield. Yeah, no, this is going to be fantastic in Limited and maybe even to Standard. The fact that there's just a ton of hate bear effects in Standard right now is beyond belief. If there doesn't end up being some sort of hate bear deck, I will be incredibly surprised. Though maybe its power level's just not enough to get there quite yet, but hopefully. And our final spoiler today, Goreclaw, Terror of Calcisma. 3 and a green for a Thor 3 legendary creature bear at rare. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast, and whenever it attacks, each creature you control power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. So first up, this is a legendary bear. People have been asking for legendary bear creatures for ages, so this checks that tick box off. But more importantly, this is just a very powerful green commander. Being able to make every creature with power 4 or greater cost 2 less, so make them go from like 4 drops to 2 drops is pretty great. And the ability to just give your entire team trample when it attacks. Sure, you might be losing this creature, though it does give itself +1/+1 and trample, so that's pretty good. But yeah, no, it's just a fantastic card. Going to be great in Commander, and could even be great in Standard, who knows. Just the ability to make all your other stuff after this cheaper is definitely worth the effect. So what do you think for today's spoilers? There was a lot to go through, and this was a very long video. Still, hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you'd want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully we'll have a lot more awesome stuff to come tomorrow.